Well, you already know where we are. It is a driverless car. Brock Purdy, Brandon Aiyuk, all your 49ers questions answered. And I guess I did tell you guys I was in LA a little bit earlier today. I was in LA for a grand total of 3 hours. I posted on Twitter. Nice little view out of the plane, downtown LA, landing, working on a top secret project down in LA. But now I am back in San Francisco. How do you know? Well, only in San Francisco and in Arizona, in Phoenix slash Scottsdale, do we have the driverless cars. Yes, there's nobody driving right now, except for Casper, the ghost. More top 30 visits for the 49ers. Kobe Bryant, not spelled like the basketball legend, spelled with a C, C-O-B-E-E. Kobe Bryant, cornerback out of Kansas, is joining the 49ers for a 30 visit. Shamar Stewart, a little bit earlier today, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M. You know, with Shamar Stewart, this guy is a complete athletic freak. He scored in the top percentile of virtually everything, but we should not confuse excellent elite athleticism with elite playing ability. And I'm not saying that Shamar Stewart can't develop into a really good football player, but he's not there right now. Didn't have a whole lot of production in college. Got blocked fairly easily in college at a lot of instances. Seemed like he had trouble shedding blocks. But there is a team, there may be multiple teams that really fall in love with his production and overdraft him. And that could be a massive, massive risk. Maybe the 49ers are going to be that team. And if they take that risk, well, they'll have to live with the potential negative consequences. But they will be hosting Shamar Stewart on a 30 visit. That is official as of today. And they'll also be hosting Kobe Bryant, who, you know, in many ways, Kobe Bryant's a different position. But in many ways, he's built differently than Shamar Stewart in that the relative athletic score is not particularly good for Kobe Bryant, but he is a dog. Mike sent me a scouting report of Kobe Bryant, the cornerback out of Kansas, and nasty was one of the first words. And it seems that every single corner that the 49ers have chosen to bring in here as of late has that dog-like quality. I mean, Trey Brown, the signee from the Seattle Seahawks, who's probably going to be the 49ers' third cornerback unless they find somebody who can usurp him on the depth chart. Here's the wheel, by the way. Those of you who think that I'm driving, I'm not. I'm 24 minutes away from my destination. We're taking a driverless car here on this beautiful day in San Francisco. But Trey Brown was the NFL's top graded press coverage corner 2 seasons ago. So, I mean, you look at him, you look at Trey Tomlinson, who they picked up off waivers from the Rams. That's a 5'8" corner. He's small, so obviously that measurable is not all too great for Trey Tomlinson, but it's a guy that plays with a dog in him, that extreme physicality. So I think that Kobe Bryant, the 49ers' latest pickup here for the top 30 visits, I think that he falls into a similar category. Now, you know, one thing that I should address is that there is a lot of speculation, because that's what mock drafts are, right? Mock drafts are just speculation on steroids. But there's a lot of speculation that the 49ers are going to pick a cornerback in the first round. In fact, I saw one of those studies of all the mock drafts that are out there. You know, it just takes every single one and it sees who the 49ers pick, and then it shows the percentages. Who do they pick most, these mock drafts in the first round? It had the 49ers going cornerback at number 11. And, you know, a lot of times the national media falls in love with a narrative, and they only get to that narrative because they don't actually follow the 49ers all that closely. And there are a couple fallacies in the 49ers taking a cornerback in the first round narrative that I've seen, because I see some of the justification for why a particular mock draft thinks the 49ers will pick a cornerback. And I see a couple recurring errors. One is that the 49ers struggled particularly much on pass defense last year. And I'm sorry, that just wasn't the case. They obviously were bad defensively, but the worst part of their defense was the run defense. They're number 29 on run defense. The pass defense, yeah, nothing was good defensively for the 49ers last year. I'm not pretending that they were world beaters on the back end, but relatively speaking, the cornerback position was actually fine. I mean, Diameter Lenore was really good. Renardo Green was really good. I get it, the injury for Charvarius Ward did hurt the 49ers, that there were some depth issues. Isaac Yiadom was okay for the 49ers, but it wasn't this glaring position of need. I've seen seasons where cornerback was a much bigger position of need than it was this past one for the 49ers. So a lot of these mock drafts that have the 49ers picking a corner in the first round at number 11 should just not be understanding what really afflicted the 49ers defense last year. And then look at 49ers draft history at all. They have never picked a cornerback in the first round with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch at the helm. Like, never. The highest pick that they've used on a corner was a low second rounder, and that was for Renardo Green last year. What was it? I think it was number 61 for Renardo Green last year. So this team just hasn't picked corners that high. They've picked a lot of corners, but not that high. They've been more rooted in the defensive line. Obviously, they've picked high at quarterback before. Receiver is a position that's gotten a lot of picks for the 49ers. I would just caution anybody thinking they're going to pick a cornerback, since I'm talking about Kobe Bryant. He's not going to go in the first round. But I would caution anybody thinking the 49ers will pick a cornerback in the first round to actually look at history and look at what has afflicted this defense. And cornerback is actually one of the more solid positions right now, across the two starters, at least for the 49ers, with Diameter Lenore and Renardo Green. We're pulling up on City Hall. Say hello to our friend, Mr. Lurie. I wonder if he's in the office right now. Here's Casper speeding up. We're going to cross Grove Street here on Van Ness, and there is San Francisco City Hall. As I said, beautiful day in the city. Slightly cooler than it is in LA. And Mike has just announced that we have opened up memberships to the channel. So, you know, this is the best 49ers content. We know that. But if you enjoy this, you can support the channel. I think that we've got a Steve Young level, a Jerry Rice level, and a Joe Montana level of a membership. Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I picked 3 players, and Mike has some cool art to go along with it. But you can support us on a monthly basis, and there are certain perks that are going to come with that. You can check that out in YouTube. Look, there's somebody else getting in a Waymo right there. That's funny. But you can support us on YouTube, and it really does further what we do. So the channel continues to grow. We now have channel memberships. The highest level, we'll even include in-person dinner or meetup or something. We'll come up with a good plan. Look, Mike put up the emojis. I don't think I could paste those on the screen since I'm in the car right now, but nice little emojis that he made. He took my profile picture from Twitter and turned me into one of those little Bitmojis. I liked it. It was cool. I'm holding the gold football. So we'll go from there. All right, any questions you guys have about Brock Purdy? I think they're working on a Mr. Irrelevant movie. About 2 years ago, after Purdy had first exploded onto the scene, I got an email from Hollywood just asking me some questions about, covering Brock Purdy in that first season when everything was really crazy in 2022. And lo and behold, a couple years later, here it comes, the Mr. Irrelevant movie. Now, remember that first year he tore the UCL in his elbow, and I think that might have shelved the project a little bit, but I guess it's coming along now with plentiful speed. So you've got the Brock Purdy movie, you got Brandon Aiyuk locked in. I think that Mike on the thumbnail put as the 49ers offense set. As far as starters go, it might be. I think a lot of that's going to depend on who's available number 11 when it comes to offensive linemen. I mean, is this going to be a situation where the 49ers can pick up that premium offensive tackle? Because if you can, or if you trade up and you do that, then I think you've got yourself a new starter along the offensive line, and then you have to reshuffle the deck chairs based on that player and based on how the new situation looks. Potentially, maybe you can get an interior line starter later. Remember the Dominic Pooney, who was a day one starter for the 49ers, was actually a 3rd round pick. So the offensive line might not be finished yet, but it's all going to depend on that NFL draft. As far as the receiver room goes, well, I mean, it would shock me if the 49ers picked somebody high enough and explosive enough and adept enough to usurp everybody and start on day one. Last year they got Ricky Pearsall. He'll slot into the starting lineup based on how he finished last year. But I mean, I was at Stanford's Pro Day yesterday with Alec Iomanner and Nick Nash. Iomanner out of Stanford, Nash out of San Jose State. I mean, those are potential mid to late round picks, maybe early-ish for Iomanner, who was awesome against Travis Hunter, that 294-yard performance against Colorado in 2023. But even if the 49ers draft one of those guys, they're not going to be one of the top 3 receivers from day one. They'd be looking to bolster some depth in the wide receiver room, which I think is a natural thing to want if you're the 49ers right now, given the fact that Brandon Aiyuk is potentially going to miss the start of the year, although there might be some more optimistic headway on that front. We'll see. I mean, it's going to take some time to figure out the return date or the return prognosis and more exactitude with Brandon Aiyuk. So we'll see. Oh, wow, we've got people joining. Dan Evans joins the Steve Young membership tier. Bo Adams joins the Jerry Rice membership tier. Dan is the first member. Bo, sorry, Bo. Bo's awesome. Bo joins, I think, the Steve Young or the Jerry Rice. I think Bo was the Jerry Rice, right? Bo's the second member, and he's just like 5 seconds behind, maybe even a second behind Dan. So Dan and Bo, welcome to membership of the Lombardi Lounge. So we're going to call it. Appreciate you guys. You two are two of our best viewers. See you guys a lot. I see Bo especially with all of his comments a lot. We just made a turn. Sorry. I like to show you guys the turn in these driverless cars, but I forgot to. We're going to make another turn here in a second. We're about to climb up Russian Hill. I actually got my 49ers visit list out right now, so we can go through some of the top 30 visits just to keep you guys updated on this live. It's been a busy morning going to LA and now returning to San Francisco. All in one day. I've never made a trip to LA that quickly, or trip anywhere really that quickly. Well, actually, that's a lie, and it was an unintentional lie. I was in Nashville, and the 49ers played the Falcons a couple years ago in Atlanta, and I flew in the morning down from Nashville to Atlanta, and then I turned around and I flew back from Atlanta to Nashville. That's a really, really short flight. Shorter than San Francisco, LA. All right, we're making our way up Nob Hill, and then we're going to go to Russian Hill after that. And here comes a turn, as promised. Look, left turn signal. This is Larkin. I used to live on Larkin. There's another Waymo. Now the two Waymos are deciding who gets the right of way. I guess we get the right of way before that other Waymo. He has turned. This car just doesn't care that we had the right of way, whatever. Waymo's being safe. That car isn't. That's a human driver. And we made the turn. There it goes. And I think we're going to go by my old place, which will be fun. So the 49ers, the morning update today upset some people. Said they're hosting Kyle Williams on a 30 visit. Not that Kyle Williams. I get it. A lot of 49ers fans won't want to draft him just because of the name. But this is a different Kyle Williams. He's from Washington State. He had over 1,100 receiving yards last year. And I think it verifies that the 49ers are interested in adding receiving depth. I think they really like, or at least John Lynch really likes Alec Iomanner from Stanford, who blocks like a typical 49ers wideout. So keep an eye on him as well. But obviously the draft has a lot of players. Shouldn't just be limited to players who the 49ers have scouted at Pro Day like they did with Iomanner or with a player like Kyle Williams is going to be a 30 visit. Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle out of Ole Miss, one of the more dominant players in this draft, is one of the 49ers' 30 visits. I know a lot of fans would be happy with a Walter Nolan pick. Then there's Mikael Williams, the edge rusher out of Georgia. That's a player with a lot of tools who's playing on a loaded defensive line in Georgia. Also somebody who didn't have huge statistical production in college, but the 49ers, obviously, between him and Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M, both 30 visits, they're obviously doing their diligence on defensive ends with traits, right? I mean, sometimes a guy could play in a wonky college system and be covering a lot, doing different things than he's going to be doing at the NFL level. And when that's the case, it's really hard to project using just college stats and college game tape how he's going to be in the NFL. So that's why I think there's a heavy emphasis on traits in the NFL draft. We're going to take a look at where I used to live here in San Francisco. This was like at the start of my tenure covering the 49ers right here on Larkin Street. It is this building that's kind of gray. It's not the nicest color. That used to be my window at the very top there on the left. We used to have a pulley system because there was a ladder, kind of like a fire escape ladder, taking you up to the roof. We used to have a pulley system to bring drinks and stuff up to the roof. But we had a view of the Golden Gate Bridge and everything. Those were good times. And whenever we want a good Italian dinner, that's why I like this place so much, Amarena. We just walk a block up the street to Amarena. I think it might be better than some of the places in North Beach. Another turn, another Waymo, and now we head up to Restaurant Row in San Francisco. All right, so I talked about the edge rushers. Omar Norman Lutt is another defensive lineman who, a really versatile defensive lineman out of Tennessee, who's a 30 visit for the 49ers. He's a good football player, period. Here's a cable car. Maybe Omar Norman Lutt will be coming to the land of cable cars from Tennessee. Look at that. We're going to be turning right behind the cable car. This could be a lot of fun. No point to... Oh, good. 2 cable cars. All right, this is really fun. Cable cars crossing each other on Hyde Street, people waving to us because I guess a driverless car is more exotic than a cable car these days. I mean, look, this guy in the Batman shirt on the cable car is literally filming us. Who knows? Maybe it's a 49ers fan and he's watching the live, but it looks like he's filming us in his Batman shirt. He doesn't know that he's on the live, but he is. He's out in public right now. It's probably a tourist, but he cares more about our car than he does the cable car. Welcome, Haram. I hope I pronounced your name right. Haram Wallace, welcome to the Steve Young membership tier. Awesome. So we got people joining while we're following cable cars in a driverless car. I mean, this is the most San Francisco thing of all time, right? I am reading off the 49ers 30 visit list while on Hyde Street in a robotic car that is driving with Casper behind a cable car, and you're about to get the Rice-A-Roni shot with Alcatraz. Meanwhile, I could tell you that the 49ers are hosting 3 tight ends now on 30 visits. Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green, who put up monster numbers last year. Jalen Conyers, a really versatile player out of Texas Tech. Cybertruck, along with a cable car, along with a driverless car. If you want adaptability, this show will bring you adaptability. So will Jalen Conyers, the tight end out of Texas Tech, who was once with Arizona State. That's where Herm Edwards was the coach, and Herm Edwards is good friends with John Lynch. So I'm sure the 49ers got some intel on Jalen Conyers. But just today, we found out that San Francisco also worked out or will work out Jackson Hawes. Unlike Harold Fannin and Jalen Conyers, Jackson Hawes is a blocking forward tight end, more of a blocking specialist than Conyers and Fannin. So it could be that the 49ers are looking to bolster depth there. We'll keep an eye out on that as we keep an eye out on Lombard Street. Look, tourists are waving at the cable car, and I'm going to be just as popular. They're going to wave at us too. Maybe not. I, though, can take a nice look at Coit Tower for you. Look, we even stopped at the top of Lombard Street. What a nice day in the city. There's Washington Square, Coit Tower, tourists. I'm glad they care more about the cable car than the Waymo. That is awfully traditional of them. And straight ahead of us is Alcatraz. Anyway, back to Jackson Hawes. This is a tight end, a blocking forward tight end who went to Georgia Tech last year. But before that, Jackson Hawes was at Yale, played 4 seasons at Yale. And that obviously is the Ivy League rival of Harvard, which is Kyle Juszczyk's school. So, everybody's talking about Hawes We look at the Golden Gate Bridge, being a Georgia Tech player. But I think that the Yale part of Jackson Hawes' college ball upbringing is more intriguing. Because if you're going for a blocking tight end, I mean, we saw the 49ers bring in Luke Farrell this offseason as a free agent. If you're going for a blocking tight end, that's going to be a complex position in this offense. I mean, when they brought in Farrell, they weren't sure if they're going to be able to keep Kyle Juszczyk. And so Farrell was going to have to reprise some of the Kyle Juszczyk role. And the Juszczyk role as an adaptable Swiss Army knife is not an easy one. It's extremely surreally taxing to know everything that's going, all the angles, all the variations, the big playbook of Kyle Shanahan's offense. So somebody like Jackson Hawes, who's coming on a 30 visit to the 49ers, is that 4-year background at Yale, might be a late round draft pick, maybe even an undrafted free agent. The 49ers could be hosting him just to cut the line in an undrafted free agency, because at that point a player has a choice of where to sign. I think this is worth paying attention to, because this blocking tight edge back position has been very, very important to Kyle Shanahan throughout his entire tenure in charge of the 49ers. Hawes, by the way, 6'4", 6'5", so he's more cut out from the Charlie Werner, Luke Farrell mode. We got more tourists filming cable cars. That's good. Salute to the tourists who appreciate the cable car more than they appreciate the driverless car. The driverless car is for the YouTube channel. You guys can enjoy it here. Now, this is always where we get stuck, or not always. But we're coming up to the Dolphin Club, so I could go swimming in San Francisco Bay. And the cable car stops here. This is the end of the line. Everybody's going to get out. The guy on the cable car is going to continue filming us. And then the car doesn't really know what to do. Like, it's not as good as Isaac Guerendo or Christian McCaffrey. And Isaac Guerendo, by the way, is working out with Frank Gore and Jonathan Taylor again. But this car is not as good as those running backs at, like, finding the opening. So we might get cars behind us honking if we robotically do not decide, well, here we go. And, hopefully we don't hit anybody coming off the cable car. I mean, it's kind of dramatic right now. You got a bunch of tourists getting off the cable car deciding what to do. There's an opening right there, but it's not currently open because these people have decided they want to get back on the cable car to take pictures. All right, so we're going to watch them taking pictures on the cable car, but they're blocking traffic. So now the car is freaking out, and it's saying our team is working to get you moving. They're done taking their pictures. Car's getting antsy. I mean, they better get out of the way. This is not good. I mean, now this guy's looking for something. I mean, the driverless car is being challenged in every which way right now. I mean, there's a lot of random stuff going on around us with these tourists, and we've made it through. I mean, so we have found the opening. We've found the hole as effectively as Christian McCaffrey, just not as fast this time. But we had to be really careful. I think that was impressive. We made it. All right, so we're almost... Is my audio out? Oh my God, sorry. I think I just hit the audio out. I went through the top 30 list. Here we go. Kobe Bryant, Shamar Stewart, Jackson Hawes, Jalen Conyers, Harold Fannin, Omar Norman Lott, Mikael Williams, Walter Nolan, and Kyle Williams. Not that Kyle Williams. I've made it to the Dolphin Club. We're finding a spot to pull over. We have made it in. Everybody, thank you for watching. We'll talk to you next time.